The ticket was boring, doors unlocking randomly. I've been on call all week, which means I was already cranky and sleep deprived and ready for another fake emergency. Doors don't unlock randomly. People do dumb shit and then blame the software. So I VPN'd into the building controller, checked logs, saw normal badge swipes. Clean patterns. Morning rush, lunch, cleaners. Nothing forced, no alarms. For 10 minutes, I thought it was going to be a weak lock battery, and I could close it and crawl back into bed. Then I started doing the stuff you do when a ticket feels too neat. I filtered by remote unlock, looked at who issued them, looked at what doors. Stairwell doors, lobby, package room. The ones you don't want popping at 2 a.m. because the camera usually doesn't catch what happens after. Most of the remote unlocks weren't even loud. Just a few seconds, just enough for someone who's waiting on the other side. I filtered the events by operator and saw something that didn't belong. A second admin account that didn't match our naming rules, didn't match the client's either. It was just generic, like I wanted to blend in. No department tag, no initials, no ticket number in the notes. I opened the audit trail, expecting to find some dusty vendor login from install. Created at 2:17 a.m., same time every week, always from maintenance closet AP. Login at 2:17. Actions at 2:17. Gone by 2:19. Week after week like a fucking ritual. And that source tag mattered because maintenance closet AP isn't the internet. That's inside the building. Somebody was physically there, standing close enough to get onto that access point, and they were using credentials good enough to create admins without tripping any alerts. I stared at it for a while, waiting for an innocent explanation to walk in. Maybe a night engineer, maybe a vendor, maybe some dumb auto script someone set up years ago. But it didn't line up with the schedule the client gave us. Their maintenance staff starts at 5. Their security patrol logs don't show anyone in a closet at 2:17. And the account wasn't in the approved operators list from the contract. So I did what I tell myself is due diligence and what my manager calls making problems. I pulled camera snapshots tied to the access events. Most were empty hallways, doors clicking open and shut with nobody in frame, like the place was breathing. A couple frames had somebody's shoulder vanishing around a corner, never close enough for a face. Then one wasn't empty. A man stood inches from a lobby reader, phone held up like he was paying. The reader beeped and the door popped. He didn't badge. He didn't tailgate. He didn't even look around. He used a fucking QR sticker slapped over the reader label. I zoomed until the pixels smeared. It was a clean, centered QR code, not some torn prank. It sat right where the manufacturer name should be, like it belonged. And the next snapshot made it worse. A tenant doing the same scan, casual, like she'd been told this was the new way in. Then another, different time, different coat, same motion. People weren't discovering it. They were following instructions. I went into our install records, the boring site photos we keep for proof after a job. Last month's photo showed no sticker. This week's did. Same angle, same lobby, same reader, now with a neat little black and white square that had no reason to be there. I scrolled through the rest of the photo set and found it. Someone had taped a tiny laminated card to the wall near the door. The card was blurry in the shot, but I could read the headline, Mobile Entry Update. Big friendly letters. The kind of thing nobody questions because it looks like building management did it. I didn't scan the code with my own phone. I wasn't about to hand anything my real info. I pulled the image and checked where it pointed using a throwaway, isolated browser. No save passwords. It forwarded to a login page that looked close enough to ours to fool anyone hurrying in from the cold. Same logo placement, same sign-in to manager access, language, same fake professionalism. The only difference was the URL. One letter off, one extra dash, the kind of stupid trick that works because human beings read shapes, not strings. Every scan harvested credentials. Then those creds got used the right way through the real portal to create that second admin account and start opening doors quietly, on schedule, from inside the building's own Wi-Fi. It wasn't clever. It was patient. I screenshotted everything. Logs, the weekly 217 pattern, the maintenance closet AP source, the camera frame with the guy and the phone, the photo comparison showing the sticker appear. I packaged it up like evidence because that's what it was, and I messaged my manager. I kept it simple because he hates long messages. Physical QR credential harvest at lobby reader. Unknown admin created weekly 217 from closet AP. Tenants scanning. Need client notified plus incident response. I expected him to say, "Good catch, escalate." He called me within 2 minutes, like he'd been staring at his phone waiting. He got angry, fast, and told me to stop escalating. Told me to just reset passwords and close the ticket. I tried to push back, and he snapped, "Do you want to be the reason we lose this contract?" Then he asked me, weirdly, if I'd accessed the client cams before. Not "what did you see?" Not "did you save anything?" Just that, like he wanted me on record admitting I look at cameras when I shouldn't. I said I pulled event link snapshots, exactly what we're trained to do. He went quiet, then said, "Don't do anything else," in this flat voice that made me feel like I'd just stepped on someone's hand. An hour later, my VPN died. Hard. My admin password failed. I tried again and got flagged for unauthorized surveillance. Those exact words, like somebody had already written the story and just needed my name in it. Then my email dinged with a password reset notice I didn't request. Then another. Then a notification that my MFA had been updated. I sat there staring in my own inbox like it was accusing me. HR emailed me a policy PDF like it was a muzzle. No call, no heads up, just a file attachment and a reminder to comply with client privacy standards. The timing was what made it filthy. They sent it minutes after my account got flagged, like they'd had it queued. Reading it felt like being told to shut up in corporate font. Then the client called screaming that I was the hacker because my username showed in the audit trail. He said their tenants were calling about doors popping. He said building management was panicking and legal was in the loop. All he had was a report with my login stamped all over the night. So, in his mind, that made me guilty. I tried telling him about the QR sticker and the fake login page and the mystery admin account. He cut me off and demanded to know why my account had been opening doors at 2:17 in the morning. Like I'd set an alarm to go ruin his night. I could hear other people in the room with him, voices talking over each other, and somebody said loud, "Get his access revoked." My manager went silent after that. Messages left on read. Security team auto-replies. HR scheduled a compliance review, like they were booking a haircut. I sat in my kitchen with the laptop open, watching my own systems lock me out one by one, feeling this hot, stupid fear that doesn't come from ghosts or shadows. It comes from realizing your name can be used like a tool, and you can't wrestle it back. Next morning, I drove to the site because I couldn't sit in my apartment feeling crazy. I walked into the lobby and went straight to the reader. The QR sticker was gone. Not torn off, cleanly removed. There was a faint rectangle where the adhesive had been. That's it. I leaned close like I could smell who touched it. The desk staff looked at me like I'd made up the whole mobile entry thing. One of them mentioned a vendor had been in to check Wi-Fi in closets the week before, then shrugged like that explained everything. I asked for a work order number and got a blank stare. I went hunting for the maintenance closet because that AP tag kept screaming in my head. The door was locked, but the frame had fresh scuffs like keys had slipped in a hurry. And under the door, I could see the faint blink of an access point light in the dark, steady as a heartbeat. I stood there for a long time listening to the building hum and feeling like the walls were laughing at me. By the time I got back to my car, another email hit. The second admin account was gone too. Deleted. The audit trail now looked simple. No unknown account. No weird source AP. No weekly pattern. Just my login, doing remote unlocks, and my session accessing cameras. It was clean in the way a wiped crime scene is clean. And that's when I understood what had really happened. Whoever did it didn't just want access. They wanted cover. They wanted a name to wear. I sat through the HR call and listened to people talk about policy like policy was the only thing that mattered. They asked me to hand over any screenshots. They asked me to acknowledge improper access. They hinted, gently, that termination was on the table if I didn't cooperate. They never once asked why an admin account appeared at 2:17 every week. They just kept circling back to the fact my username was in the logs, therefore I must have done it. And the whole time I kept thinking about my manager's first reaction. Stop escalating, reset passwords like he was protecting someone or himself or the contract, anything but me. Next morning, the QR sticker disappeared. The admin account vanished. My login stayed in the logs, stamped all over the night it happened, like someone wore my name's gloves. We got toned out at 2:41 a.m. for a barn fire on the far edge of the district. Whole crew rolled. It was one of those calls that wakes you up angry because you know it's probably bullshit, but you still have to move like it's real. Boots, coat, helmet, into the rig with your eyes half open and your mouth tasting like stale coffee. We tore down the road and found nothing. No smoke, no heat, just a dark barn and frozen mud. Dispatch swore the call came from the property owner. We did the walk around anyway. I crunched through ruts, hit the big door with my light, sniffed for that wet burnt smell you can't fake. Nothing. The barn was cold and dead. My lieutenant asked dispatch for a callback number. Dispatch read one off. We tried it. Straight to that automated line that says the number isn't set up. We tried again. Same. Dispatch got snippy like we were wasting time. We cleared, annoyed, and drove back. Guys kept tossing theories around. Prank, glitch, someone spoofing. Somebody joked about how the owner probably fell asleep mid-call. I didn't laugh. The idea that someone wanted us out there sat in my gut. When I pulled into my driveway, my porch light was on. I never leave it on. My front door sat cracked like a mouth. I didn't go heroic. I went cold. I killed my headlights, left the truck running, and listened. No TV, no footsteps, no dog, nothing. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped up slow. The door didn't creak like it usually does. It moved too easy. Inside, the air didn't smell like my house. It smelled like cheap cologne and sweat, like someone had been in here long enough to get comfortable. The living room looked fine from a distance, but my couch cushions were flipped and my kitchen drawer hung open a few inches. Not the silverware, the junk drawer, the one that eats spare keys and key rings. I walked to the hook by the door. Empty. My key ring wasn't in my pocket either. I checked anyway, like touching fabric would change reality. Nothing. I looked at the spare key hook. Empty too. That's when my skin went tight. Someone wasn't looking for cash. Someone was looking for doors. Footsteps tapped upstairs. Slow. Like whoever it was didn't care if I heard. Like they wanted me to know they were still there. I backed out and tried to call it in. Thumb on the mic, name, address, possible break-in. My radio hissed once and died. Dead zone. Bullshit. I talked on it from my porch 100 times. I smacked it, switched channels, did the dumb ritual we all do when tech fails at the worst moment. Nothing. I pulled my phone. One bar, then none. I stepped off the porch, held it up, got a flicker, lost it again. The upstairs tapping stopped. Not because they left, because they were listening. I went back in because standing outside with an open door felt worse. I kept the beam on the stairs. A shadow moved at the top. I saw a phone screen glow, pointed down at me, recording. That did it. That made it personal. I threw my flashlight at it. Glass popped. The glow went out, and the shadow snapped back. I ran for the back door and found a fresh padlock on it, snapped shut from the outside. I grabbed the lock and twisted it like if I understood the thing, I'd understand the whole night. It wasn't rusty. It wasn't mine. It had that factory oil smell, and the shackle still had clean scrape marks like it had been snapped shut hard. We don't even use that hasp. Somebody had stood outside my back door at some point and locked it, calm as hell, like they were sealing a cooler. Upstairs, something shifted. One floorboard complained, then another, slow, controlled. That's when it hit me that the only reason I hadn't been jumped already was because they didn't want to. They wanted me to look. They wanted me to know. I actually took a step toward the stairs, and then my brain finally did the part it should have done in the front door. Stop pretending you're a cop. I put out fires. I don't clear houses alone at 3 a.m. I backed off and went for the kitchen window. When I shoved it up and fell out, the cold slapped me awake hard enough to make my eyes water. I scraped my knuckles, hit the frozen dirt, and kept moving. I looped to the front, stayed back from the doorway, and finally got a call out when my phone caught a sliver of signal near the street. I told 911 I needed cops now. Those 10 minutes waiting felt longer than some structure fires. I kept replaying the barn, the dead callback, dispatch acting annoyed instead of confused. The more I replayed it, the more it felt like someone yanked us out of the district on purpose. Barn call pulls the crew, leaves my street quiet, leaves my house without my truck in the driveway long enough for someone to work. Leaves me predictable because I'm the idiot who always goes straight home after a late run. Cops arrived 10 minutes later. They swept the house with lights and guns and came back down saying nobody inside. No forced entry, no prints. They stared at the padlock like it was a magic trick. Then one of them asked if I maybe put it on and forgot. I snapped. I told them I don't lock my own back door from the outside while I'm asleep inside my own house. He did that tight smile like I was a problem customer. They wrote it up, told me to change my locks, told me to get cameras, and kept circling back to probably kids. Like kids steal keys and record you from the stairs. Like wind undoes a deadbolt and rummages only where keys live. They left and my house felt smaller. I dumped the junk drawer out on the counter and started tearing through everything, angry and sweating, making a bigger mess than the intruder did. I checked closets, vents, the attic access, all the places your brain goes when it's trying to convince you someone's still there. Right before sunrise, I noticed a little spare key tag I keep on my ring sitting on the counter. Just the tag, no key, like someone peeled it off and left it for me to find. When I went back to the station later, the guys were split the way people always are when something weird happens. Half of them got quiet. Half of them joked because jokes feel safer. The lieutenant pulled up the CAD log because the barn call still felt wrong. The barn fire wasn't there. Not delayed, not misfiled, just gone. The screen jumped from our last medical call straight to the next 1 hour later like we'd never left. Dispatch said they had no record. I didn't let it go. I wanted something solid to blame, some line on paper that said this happened. I watched the lieutenant refresh the screen like a refresh could pull a ghost back into the world. He checked unit history. He checked the timestamp. He checked the address field like maybe one digit got fat-fingered. Nothing. So we called dispatch from the station phone. Different dispatcher, same board tone. They said there was no barn fire at 2:41. They said maybe we were mixing it up with another run. The lieutenant asked why we had tones for it, why our MDT lit up, why we had an address written on the whiteboard in the bay. The line went quiet for a beat, then they came back with rehearsed junk about system maintenance and data not saved. Then they got pushy like we were accusing them, like we were wasting their time. He asked for the audio. They said it wasn't available. He asked for a supervisor. They said one would call back. Nobody did. That part made my skin crawl almost as much as my house. Break-ins happen. Weirdos happen. But when the paper trail evaporates, you start wondering what else can evaporate. My captain pulled me aside and told me to change my locks and sleep somewhere else for a night, like that was a normal sentence. He also told me not to make a public thing, not to start rumors about dispatch, not to blow up a county relationship over something we couldn't prove. He wasn't defending dispatch. He was defending the illusion that the system works. I drove home in daylight feeling like I was carrying a secret nobody wanted. Every time a car sat behind me too long, my throat tightened. On my porch, I noticed the porch light switch flipped up when I got back, like a fingerprint in plain sight. I swear I turned it off before I left with the cops, and there it was on again. I went inside, and that cologne was still hanging in the hallway like it on the air. I stood at the bottom of the stairs for a long time, staring up, waiting for another tap that never came. and hating myself for wanting it, because at least that would have been proof. I walked through my house again like a stranger. The only thing missing was my spare key and the dispatch log for that barn fire call, which somehow didn't exist. I used to return lost items. Phones, wallets, keys. Then I met a guy who paid cash for unclaimed stuff. He said he bought and refurbished. Easy story. I started saving the nicer phones, wiping them, selling them off book. I told myself the passengers were drunk and careless. So fuck it. Driving nights turns you into a ledger with a pulse. Gas goes up, the app pays the same, your tires go bald anyway. You hear people in the back seat talk about brunch plans and ski trips while you do mental math on whether you can stretch $50 through 3 more shifts. I find a phone under the seat, feel it buzzing like a trapped insect, and I'd think this is a bill paid. I noticed a guy at a gas station by the airport right after I shook a set of keys out of my floor mat. Plain hoodie, clean shoes, calm eyes. Not desperate. He watched me bag the keys for the lost and found run and said he buys unclaimed stuff. He said he fixes it, sells it, keeps it out of landfills. He said cash, quick. I told him no. He didn't argue. He wrote a number on the back of a receipt and slid it across my hood like it was a tip. He walked off, and I hated how sure he looked. A week later, a passenger filed a complaint. They said I made them feel unsafe, which can mean anything from I took a turn too hard to I didn't laugh at their joke. The app froze my account pending review. No shifts, no money, just an email full of corporate pity. I called support and got a loop of hold music and scripted apologies. I snapped and cussed at a rep, and they hung up. I sat in my car in my apartment lot, staring at my cracked steering wheel cover, and I finally texted that receipt number. He answered fast and told me to meet behind a 24-hour gym. I brought the phone I'd found and never reported. The handoff took maybe 10 seconds. He didn't ask my name. I didn't ask his. He checked the screen, peeled off a tiny sticker near the camera, and put folded bills in my palm. It felt hot, like I just touched a stove. He said one thing, low, like a reminder, keep it powered off. Then he was gone between 2 parked cars. I drove away with my stomach tight and my brain telling me, see, nothing happened. 2 days later, my account came back on like nothing ever happened. And instead of taking that as a warning, I took it as proof I could get away with it. After that, I got selective. Cheap phones, I returned. Beat up wallets, I dropped off. But the good stuff, the new stuff, the phones that lit up my car with 100 notifications, those I held. I'd wait a couple days, tell myself nobody was calling, then I'd do the wipe and drop. He always had a spot. Always somewhere with cameras, but no attention. Grocery store lots. A laundromat. A church-side parking area with bright lights. Sometimes he didn't even show his face. He'd text a trash can number or a cart corral, and I'd leave the phone in a taped-up envelope. And later I'd find cash wedged under my wiper like some greasy miracle. Every time, I told myself, this is temporary. Every time, I spent it like it was my real paycheck. Then I realized what the phones contained before you wipe them. Names and home, saved addresses, the stupid little patterns people never lock down. It wasn't even hard. People pick patterns like they're doodling while they talk. I'd try 2 or 3 and the screen would open and suddenly I was staring at someone's life in my hand. Contacts with little emojis. Notes with gate codes. Photos of mail on a counter, shipping labels, work badges, kids' school flyers. I started skimming and grabbing screenshots. Contact, addresses, anything that looked like a code. I didn't call it stalking. I called it insurance in case someone tried to report me. That was the lie that let me sleep. The truth is I liked having leverage over people who could ruin my account with one angry tap. It got worse because my paranoia grew with the pile of information. I'd imagine a passenger tracking me through the app history, showing up at my building, calling my job, posting my face online. So I kept collecting like if I knew enough about them I could scare them off. I never actually used it, but I held it like a weapon. That's the part that makes my skin crawl now, not just the stealing. The way I turned strangers into targets in my head. One night, a woman left her phone on my back seat, and ran into an apartment building alone. She wasn't loud. She wasn't drunk. She looked exhausted in that end-of-shift way. Hair shoved back, bag clutched tight, eyes fixed on the glass doors like she wanted to be inside already. I pulled up, she hopped out, and she hurried in without looking back. The dome light clicked on, and her phone was there on the floor mat, face up, glowing. I could have yelled. I could have rolled down the window and waved it. I didn't. I watched the doors close behind her, and I drove off like it was nothing. At the next light, I picked it up and tried the pattern. It opened on the second guess. That should have stopped me. Instead, it made me feel powerful and stupid. I went into her settings and killed the Find My Phone toggle because I was already thinking like a criminal. I went straight to her contact card. There was an address, her work, and an emergency contact labeled Do Not Call. That label hit me like a slap, and I still snapped the number because I'm a piece of shit when I'm scared of being broke. I didn't even think about why it said that. I thought about rent. I thought about getting deactivated again. I thought about needing something to hold over her if she came for me. I took the screenshot, deleted it, cleared the trash, then went back and did it again just to make sure I had it. I sat there in a parking lot with her phone in my hand, listening to my own engine idle, and I remember thinking, you're crossing a line you can't uncross, and I did it anyway. 2 days later, I met the cash guy behind that same gym. He handed me money without meeting my eyes. I tried to act normal, and my voice came out thin, like I was sick. I wanted to ask him what he really did with them, where they went, who bought them. I didn't ask because I already knew the answer wouldn't make me feel better. I took the cash and drove away, wiping sweat off my palms on my jeans, checking my mirrors like someone was already on me. 2 weeks later, her face showed up on a local missing person flyer at the same gas station. It was taped crooked next to the lottery tickets. Same smile I'd seen on her lock screen. Same hair. The flyer had the date she was last seen, and the location was her building. My coffee shook in my hand, and I felt my stomach go hollow like I'd stepped off a curb that wasn't there. I stood there rereading it until the clerk asked if I was okay. I lied and said yeah. Then I walked out like my legs belonged to someone else. I got in my car and checked my phone like an idiot, like it could tell me I was dreaming. That's when I saw the message from an unknown number. A photo of my car, taken from behind, plate readable. You could see my bumper sticker and the little scratch on my trunk. Caption, good driver. No emoji, no threat. Just those 2 words, like a pat on the head from somebody holding a brick. My brain spun. Hoodie guy, someone who bought the phone and dug through it. The do not call person. A gulp. Some random bastard who thought this was funny. I kept staring at that photo, zooming in, trying to figure out where it was taken, trying to find a reflection in my taillight that showed a face. I couldn't. All I could see was proof someone had been close enough to frame my plate and send it to me whenever they wanted. I went to the cops and confessed everything I'd done. Lost items, screenshots, cash drops. They treated me like a suspect first, a witness second. Fair. They put me in a small room that smelled like old coffee and asked the same questions in different shapes. Had I been to her building? Did I use any codes? Did I contact her? Did I know her? Where did I meet the buyer? What did I do with the phones before I sold them? One officer kept tapping his pen like he hated me. Another one told me, flat, that wiping devices can count as destroying evidence, and my mouth went dry because I'd never let myself say that phrase. Evidence. They took my phone. They photographed my car. They wrote everything down like I was already a case file. When they finally let me leave, I sat in my car in the parking lot with the engine off, hands shaking, sweating through my shirt in the cold. I didn't feel innocent. I felt caught, even though I didn't know what I was caught in. I went home and scrubbed my back seat like I could erase the last year with soap. I deleted every stray screenshot I could find. I checked my cloud backups. I checked again. None of it fixed the feeling. I stopped driving nights. I started flinching every time headlights sat behind me too long at a red light. I started changing my route home. I started looking for my own car in other people's photos on social media like a lunatic, trying to see if I'd already been posted somewhere. I still don't know if my data helped someone grab her or if the good driver text was just someone letting me know they'd been shopping in my trash. Either way, I can't unlearn it. I sold pieces of strangers for gas money, and the universe didn't punish me with lightning. It punished me with the fact I'll never be sure what I helped happen.